Welcome back to Management Development Unlocked. I am chuffed that you are here. I'm Eric Girard, and I'm the CEO of Girard Training Solutions, a management development firm that focuses on helping new managers transform from high-performing individual contributors to great people managers. I also have an Amazon #1 best-selling book called Lead Like a Pro, The Essential Guide for New Managers. Today, I am delighted to have Josh Irmler with me. Josh, welcome to the show. Who are you and what do you do?
Hey, Eric, I'm really glad to be here today. Thank you so much for allowing me on, first of all. And let me just talk for a second a little bit about my background. The last 9 years, I've worked as a learning and organizational development consultant, had the opportunity of consulting for Fortune 1000 companies. And then in the last few years, really zoned in on working specifically consulting with tech and media companies. And so through that process, I learned a lot about AI and everything that's happening with generative artificial intelligence. And about 2 years ago, launched an AI company for learning and development professionals that we call Landdai, which stands for Learning and Development Artificial Intelligence. And so have spent the last couple of years working with that and providing a solution for chief learning officers, for instructional designers that helps them create learning assets in less than 2 minutes by leveraging the power of AI. So that's what we spend most of our time doing these days.
Right on. So today we're going to dive deep into AI. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. I've done some reading and I'm really excited to talk to you. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Let's begin with the elephant in the room. Isn't AI just going to take our jobs? I got to admit, I spent some time on your website and I am scared to death. This may turn into a therapy session.
Okay. I think that's probably one of the biggest questions that I get asked and have been asked for quite some time now. And the short answer that I like to give is this. I don't think AI is going to take our jobs, but probably individuals who are leveraging AI most likely will. And let me give a little longer answer to that specifically as to why. I believe over the next 18 to 36 months, there is going to be a cultural pressure within the scope of our workplace that's going to demand much more efficiency, a lot more productivity. There's just going to be a lot more demands for output from us. And I don't believe that these outputs are going to be able to be manually produced. And so individuals who are leveraging a lot of these AI tools and different AI solutions are going to be able to produce, and they're going to be able to create at 5 and 10, and in some cases, even like 100 times more efficiently than people who are not utilizing some of these AI outputs. Along with the demands for how much productivity there is, there's also going to be a huge demand for customization and personalization in the workforce. And so in our world, talent development, there's going to be a demand to customize our training programs and personalize the learning resources and assets that we make available. And that was just never truly possible at scale when it was all done manually. But now with the introduction of artificial intelligence, there are now opportunities for us to create personalized, customize training resources, development assets that are highly customized and highly personalized at a scale that just was never possible before. And so I genuinely don't think that AI is going to take anybody's job, but that is assuming that individuals are leaning into this technology. They're learning how to leverage these technologies for more productivity, for more personalization, for more customization. And essentially, what I also say quite a bit is that, if AI is either going to maybe replace you with somebody else who's using AI, or it's going to make you irreplaceable. And I think if you're leaning into these technologies, that rather than taking your job, AI can essentially make you irreplaceable in your job.
Well, that's reassuring. I have to admit, personally, I've been on the slow side of taking up AI. I do use some AI apps. and I'm just dipping my toe in because there's so many apps and there's so much going on. It reminds me when the internet was just taking off in the early 90s, and it was just the Wild West. And I sort of feel like it's kind of that way now with AI, where just everybody's got an app and they all do different things, and lots of them do the same thing, but they all do it differently, and it gets a little confusing. So I'm just taking it one step at a time.
There's a lot there. And even from my perspective, I run two different AI companies, and I have a hard time even just keeping up with everything that's rolling out there. In fact, yesterday morning, OpenAI, which a lot of people might be familiar with ChatGPT, they just made a new announcement, and they made massive updates to what they're doing. And so now just trying to keep up with, some of what they're doing and what it makes possible for so many of us it's a lot to keep track of. So I definitely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so picking up from your last question, how can I get a vision for what's possible with AI? We just scratched the surface, so can we go a little deeper?
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways we could take this question. We could take it on a very practical, pragmatic level and be like, okay, let's talk about actual applications that are now emerging in the marketplace that we could use on a regular basis. And I would just say from a high level, a few applications that I would encourage folks to use just off the top of my head. Obviously, OpenAI's ChatGPT. If you're not yet using that, you're going to want to start getting proficient at that. Another application that I've been using a lot lately is called Perplexity AI. And Perplexity is similar to ChatGPT, but the difference is that instead of it just using a large language model in the sense of creating content, it actually goes out into the internet and finds its outputs from places on the internet. So it's almost like a Google on steroids, where everything that it puts out has a backlink or a footnote to where it found the information. And I find that a lot of people in this age of AI and how much of this is real and when is it just making stuff up have they're kind of cautious about some of this AI stuff. And so Perplexity.ai kind of has solved that issue. And a lot of my friends are using Perplexity AI because of that reason. Another solution that's being used a lot is Make. Make is a solution that allows you to integrate all of your other applications, and it does it in a very AI-friendly manner. So, for example, if you have an email solution or a CRM, or possibly you've got a calendar system or a project management system, Make allows you to connect all of those and, in essence, use AI to inform how those solutions all interact with each other, which I think opens up tons of possibilities for those of us in the talent development kind of world. Obviously, I'd be remiss not to mention Landdai, which allows you to take a PDF, drop it in, 2 minutes later, you've got a fully immersive, interactive e-learning course with all of the UI and UX built in. So it feels like it just built a website for you. It built this SaaS solution that allows any individual, even people who don't use our application, to be able to access the e-learning courses that are made, even if they don't have access to the solution. And so you can make it in the solution, and then you can send it to anybody you want, and they are going to be able to use those courses in a way that allows them to have AI really coach them while they're taking the course, which I think is very interesting. So the AI helps you build the course, but then the AI also is helping the learner and coaching them as they are going through the course. And so we use AI kind of on both sides, like an AI sandwich in that way. There's apps like Otter AI that allows you to transcribe your Zoom presentations and simplifies them, takes all of your Zoom notes or meetings you go to and transcribes them for you, and then sends them an email, allows you to send those to meetings that maybe you can't even go to. And so there's just a plethora of ways in which these different AI solutions can be used in a lot of different ways. But I like to kind of come at the question, and that the question originally was what kind of vision can we get for what's possible with AI, and flip it a little bit and ask ourselves maybe a different kind of see it from a different perspective. And that is, rather than just looking at solutions that are being created by AI, what could we do in not just a manner of doing more efficiently and more productively what we've always done, but what can we do that's new when it comes to talent development, when it comes to learning and organizational planning? What are some things that AI potentially could make possible that were never possible before the advent or the launch of generative AI? And I think that's a really interesting question. And so, for example, one of the things I've been kind of playing around with in my head, and we haven't developed this yet, maybe somebody wants to who's listening to your podcast can run with this idea, but essentially there could be an application where the AI is connected to some degree to people's emails or their Slacks or their Microsoft Teams, and it's reading all of this, and then essentially from that place saying, hey, I noticed that you have a performance review coming up in 3 hours. Would you like me to coach you in real time in regards to this particular situation that you have? And in that moment, the AI creating a micro course or a coaching scenario where you get to practice, the AI then giving you feedback in real time as you're needing it, because it knows from your calendar or an email that is coming up. And to me, those are interesting conversations to have. How do we catch a vision for what potentially can be possible, where it's not just being more productive and efficient at what we've always been doing, but what are new ways that we can be developing talent and developing managers and high potential leaders in our organizations that maybe we couldn't do before because it just wasn't scalable. And so I think those are two different ways to look at that question. And I think both ways of looking at it can add value to what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like it. Well, I've got another question that dovetails nicely into this. So speaking specifically to my audience of new managers, why should new managers be focusing on adopting AI into their workflow? What does a new manager get when they start using AI in their role as manager?
To some degree, I think new managers actually will have an advantage in this way, because the old adage, it's hard to teach, an old dog new tricks, where someone who's a newer manager, they don't have a bunch of maybe preconceived habits or ideas about what it means to be a manager. And so it might, to some degree, be easier for them as they're building out their leadership and their management philosophy and their ideas around what it means to be a good leader, where as they're building that out, they're going to be able to weave this technology in. And one of the ways I like to think about it is the biggest benefit that AI gives to us is not that it can create something for us, but that it can create something with us. And I think as a new manager, we can weave this thinking into everyday rhythms of our leadership. Mark Cuban recently said something, this was back in April, and I'm going to not quote it exactly right, but the gist was that if a professional is not using AI, then he very quickly needs to get on board, because those individual professionals that are not adopting AI solutions and learning AI will very quickly become outdated. And so I think there's something for new managers to recognize, hey, as I'm developing as a leader, how can I leverage AI not to do the work for me, but how can I just learn habits of weaving AI and generative AI to almost be a co-creator with me? And so essentially, this could play out in a lot of different ways. But right now, it is not in the mindset of a manager who's been managing for 20 or 30 years to think about questions through the frame of how could AI enhance this situation. So essentially, right now, this is possible. Anybody could jump on their phone today, and they could open up an app, and they could give a speech or a presentation. And a lot of folks who might be listening to you, at some time they have to do a training or they have to do a presentation. You could take your phone today, you could give the presentation to the phone in the recorder, and have AI evaluate not just your tone, but your cadence, your facial expressions, and give you feedback in real time on that presentation. And so somebody who's been facilitating or training for 30 years, they're not programmed to think of how they could leverage AI. But if you'll from the very get-go, just every day be asking yourself this question, how can AI help me do this better? Not do it for me. I don't think that's necessarily if we're thinking that way, I think we're going to miss something. But how can it help me do something a little bit more efficiently, a little bit more productively, a little bit with a little bit more excellence? And I believe that new managers are going to have an advantage because they don't have a lot of maybe bad habits or old habits, maybe would be a better way of saying it, baked in to how they navigate their leadership style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you've given us a lot to think about just in that question alone. What do you think the future is going to look like for new managers?
I alluded to this before, but I genuinely believe that there is going to be a demand for future leaders and future managers to not necessarily have a one-size-fits-all approach in their leadership. There's going to be a demand for much more personalization and when it comes to how they manage and how they lead. For example, let's talk about performance reviews. So a new manager might have to do, let's say he has a team of eight individuals that are on his team. Well, before it would have taken so much time for a new manager to take all of the documents that he got through that performance review and analyze them specifically. But now essentially you could take those documents, scan them into AI, and then ask the AI for basically what goals or, what improvements could be made, and be able to do some of those things at scale. And so there are opportunities for new managers to really leverage this, both for the people they're leading, but also for themselves, and have AI be that evaluation in a psychologically safe environment, and encourage those that they're managing within the policies of their particular organization. And every organization is going to be a little bit different on how they want their employees leveraging and interacting with AI. But a good leader might encourage their employees to go to AI and look for answers within that scope, to get feedback before they're presenting it in front of a group of people, or before they propose their plan. In fact, last night I had a proposal I had to make to an organization, and I took my proposal and I had AI read it, look over it, and make any suggestions. And I didn't have it write it for me. I didn't even use it to start the writing. It was usually, we think of, well, we use AI to get us started. But I didn't in this situation. I got it started. I was about to be done. I was about to email it off. And I thought, I'm just going to have AI look at it. So I had it look at it. And sure enough, it made it like 15% better. And now what I sent off was better. So there's just a lot of different ways to leverage it. It doesn't always just have to be our starting point. Maybe it's the end point. Maybe it's something in the middle. And just to start broadening our perspectives on different ways that we can leverage this. But I think a lot of it will involve customization and personalization at a scale that was neither possible before or wasn't demanded before.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if this means that managers will be asked to manage more people because you'll be able to scale so much more. You'll be able to scale more.
I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Exactly. In fact, I think that's a natural ramification of this process, and I think you're probably hitting the target right on with that.
Man, this is all. I have to admit, it makes me feel a little unsettled to hear all of this. But
Okay.
I'm on board, toe in the water. So talk to me in 6 months, and we'll see where I'm at.
Absolutely. And I think, we could think back to so many different times in our society's culture where we had this, like when the tractor was invented, and everybody was like, oh no, of course, at that time, much of the world was an agrarian culture and everybody's farming. And it did not limit the amount of folks, that worked jobs. It just changed the type of jobs that people could get involved in. Obviously it led to the Industrial Revolution and how many more people could work in that. And overall, it improved society at a mass level, but on a micro level, it made for a season that was a little uncomfortable. But if you have kind of the will to be flexible and to grow and to develop for those people. And I think those of us who are in learning and development, if any of us should be wanting to grow and learn and develop, it should be us. That I really don't think we're going to be the ones that essentially get hurt. It's going to be a little bit of maybe growing pains will be the best way to describe this next season.
And if those of you listening are starting to feel uncomfortable with this change, don't forget, I've got a change management course that will help. So,
yes.
So
exactly. I love it.
Josh, let's talk a little bit about you specifically and your AI starter kit. What is that?
Yeah, so basically what we like to make available for those of you who are just getting into this world, we have a talent development starter kit that we'd love to make available for free to any of your listeners. Simply DM me at LinkedIn at Joshua Irmler, last name Irmler, and you can DM me there on LinkedIn, or you can send me an email at josh@landdai.com. That's with 2 D's, and we'll give you a starter kit. There's a lot of things in that starter kit. We have tons of prompts that you can use as a professional that will help you, a prompt library there. We have a couple chapters of my book called The AI Edge that'll help you on how to get the competitive advantage in your workplace. It's available there. There's also a guide sheet that has all of my favorite AI solutions beyond even the one that I'm a part of. So if you just want a glossary of all my favorite solutions, I've got dozens and dozens of them there. That's included. I also have built some custom GPTs that we put in that starter kit. And those GPTs will take books and will summarize them for you. They'll build action planners for you, and they'll do it all automatically. And so those custom GPTs are in that starter kit as well. And so just feel free to mention the podcast here, send me a DM, send me an email, however you get in touch with me, reach out to Eric. He'll pass along the information, and I want to be sure to get that to you. And hopefully that'll be a help as you just continue on your development in AI. And I guess if I were kind of, as we're wrapping this up, Eric, I guess the question I would have for you as you're listening and as you're starting to dive into this world a little bit of AI, specifically, what do you see maybe how new managers, because that's obviously where you're an expert, training, developing new managers, as we've been talking, where do you potentially see new managers being able to really leverage, and if we want to use the word exploit, generative AI to get a lot of bang for their buck as they're entering into this new season of their lives?
Well, you mentioned performance reviews, which I think could be massive because performance reviews, depending on how the company structures them, are incredibly stressful for everybody involved. Yeah. And managers wind up just drowning in paperwork trying to analyze data and so on. So that's one obvious place, tying back to what you said. But also I think one-on-ones, because I'm a huge fan of one-on-ones, but a lot of managers push back and say, I don't have time. I don't have time to run these one-on-ones. And so if you could use AI to help you craft your agenda for the one-on-one and take that task off your plate so that you can come up with, okay, how am I going to efficiently use a half hour with each of my direct reports? Put together an agenda, make sure there's plenty of room for the employee to talk and to bring up their issues, but then you've got your agenda, boom, done. During the meeting, AI is capturing notes and summarizing and distributing that to all parties involved. I could see that being a huge win.
Yes. Oh, I totally agree with you. No, that's awesome. There's just so many areas where, this can be leveraged in some incredible ways. And I'm excited to see how many of the new managers that follow you and those of us that are learning on how to raise up new managers from you are going to be leveraging this technology over the next few months. It's going to be really cool.
It is. And I feel like I'm going to have to write a second edition of my book because I gave AI a paragraph in the first version of Lead Like a Pro. Acknowledged it. It's coming. Absolutely. You better be on board. But I think that there's going to be a lot more to say about it in a year. So watch out for the second edition of Lead Like a Pro soon.
I love it. That's going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, Josh, thank you so much. What an amazing conversation. We've come to the end. So again, tell us how we can find you so we can get that starter kit. And by the way, I want one.
Yeah, no, we'll send it over. Find me. LinkedIn is mostly where I'm active on. Joshua Irmler. There on LinkedIn. Once again, it's IRMLER is how that is spelled. So I'd love to connect with you there on LinkedIn. And also, if you do happen and you want to be a part and get that starter kit, we'll also put you on our newsletter mailing list. And we're just trying to give you a lot of value when it comes to developing as an AI expert. And so we actually have a training course available that we give you a part of in the starter kit. But if you'd like to really take our AI certification, black belt certification, we do a training and we'll make you a business professional AI expert over the course of several weeks. We do live trainings and we'd love for you to jump in and be a part of that the next time we run a cohort there. So just a couple of ways to grow in your technology, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from all of you here in the future.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Well, folks, thanks for listening. Please subscribe to the show and connect with me on LinkedIn as well. Pick up my book, Lead Like a Pro, The Essential Guide for New Managers, available on Amazon. And the first 2 chapters are free on my website, which is GerardTrainingsolutions.com. If you'd like to chat about how I can help you or your new managers, please drop me a line via my website, GerardTrainingsolutions.com. We will catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.